Paradox Diaries 8.1, Introduction of the Paradox Engine. Over here I have some words. These are a summary of my practices in a sort of an interesting way. Over here I have some other words for context. So I'm going to roll first a D10. That gives me a 4, and 4 is stabilize. Okay. Then I'm going to roll a D12. That's for the second column. That came out 10, and that's egregore. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and then how long am I going to deal with the egregore while I'm working on stabilization? I'm going to do that for 2 rounds. Now, I'm not actually going to do this. I'm actually demonstrating the engine. What I might do is I might use this as a framework. So if I'm teaching Tammuz 18, what I might do is I want to forget the text, the amount of time, and I'm going to say, hey, we're going to start working on pushing hands. And while we're doing that, what I want you to do is I want you to worry about aligning your body, and it just happened to be self for the context. So work on aligning yourself. Or wait, let's try that again. Okay, now we're about to do Dragon Strikes Out. For Dragon Strikes Out, well, okay, I got a shake and a 12. Ooh, shake and terminate. Okay, well, that means we're not going to do it. We're going to instead shake and I'm not sure what we're going to do, but shake and terminate. That's the thing. These are not meant to be specific things. These are meant to be generative ideas. Now, if I go through my list of words, in my practice, the base practice is shaking. If you do nothing else, shake. If you want to do something else, breathe. When you breathe, you can breathe like 5 breaths a minute is a really good place to be. If that's all you do, if you just breathe 5 breaths a minute on the regular, that's going to be a huge difference. If you do shaking on the regular, that's going to be a huge difference. If you do them together, if you align those 2 things together, that's the third step, you'll get even bigger results. Then if you continue on, the next is stabilize. I do that through isometrics, neck isometrics, planks. I'm also adding some resistance training, that kind of thing. So I'm stabilizing my core, stabilizing my body. And then I'm also going to expand. That could be deep flexibility works like science of stretching. It could be actually cardio. I'm expanding my cardio. It's whatever you need it to be, whatever you want it to be. I have my own interpretation of the words, but it doesn't matter what mine are. Here's a template. Here's my words. Replace your words, your template with your words. After that, after expand, it's coordinate. Now in coordination, I'm actually going to do stuff like I'm going to incorporate the second bow from Tai Chi into maybe a deep stretch pose. Or when I'm doing my neck isometrics, I try to do the entire bow and then sometimes even engage my pelvic floor. Continuing on down, the next one is, this is not the next one. Hang on. Stabilize. Oh, yeah, it's 10. 10 became coordinate. I'm going to have to come back to that one. And then, oh, I do know what it was. It's I wrote egregore, but that's on the other side. It's expand. So open up or engage, pardon me, engage. So in Tai Chi, at the very beginning of the form, you shift your weight to the left. You're engaging an opponent coming in. You're changing your center of gravity, so you're engaging. So maybe engaging is from Tai Chi. Maybe engaging is engaging your core or turning your toes under. Engaging is whatever engaging means to you in that moment. And then continuing on, inhabit. So I'm going to go into a deep stretch and just wait there for a while, because if I wait there for a while, I'm allowing my brain to sample the actual extent of the stretch and make a much higher fidelity recording. And also the sarcomeres are going to be loosening, and also I'm working on the nervous system. And then finally, withdraw. Withdraw is a controlled retreat. If you've watched any of my videos on stretching, I come out really slow. Now, I've been doing it because I'm old, but it turns out more practically, forget your age, if you put your body under a good deal of discomfort and then you pause as you come out a little bit and hold, you actually get a huge surge. At least I get a huge surge in my vagal tone. That is, my RMSDD jumps up by, I've seen it jump up into the 200s. So 80 to 100 is typical, 120 and so on. So basically, I've got some theories about what that is. I think there's this continuous vagal pump that goes into your bloodstream, and normally it's consumed by normal daily stress. But if you turn your nervous system down, I think that you have this ongoing sort of like pump and release. And just because this morning or Saturday morning, yeah, I measured 3 or 4 of these while I was just walking the dogs. I was out in the park, dogs off lead, walking around, and it just so happens. So I think that it's a normal biological process that's normally masked or hidden by the egregore of the stress of being hooked to TV and hooked to eating processed foods and so on. Okay, anyway, now that I've done this, I started seated as opposed to shaking because I wanted to shake the reality. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the chaos engine here. And by the way, the D4, that's just if you want to add a little bit of state. If you want it to last a little longer, you can make it a D10. And literally, I had these. Let me just, what originally I had, I thought I had 10 and 10, but then I realized I miscounted. So then I went 10 and 8. And then I looked for a D10, got one. Looked for a D8, couldn't find one. So I said, well, oh, I got a D12. Well, what could I add? Oh, well, if I add self. And so the context is the spelling of self and context with mu, mu in the middle. And so you can always not do anything. And as I've said before, if no isn't a choice, then you really don't have true freedom. You do have options, but true freedom has to be movable, mu, not moo, which is how it's going to be translated. So I'm going to go ahead and start shaking, but in the spirit of chaos, oh, okay, I'm going to take this. If I look down on this, that's a 1, a 2, and a 10. I'm sorry, Kitty. This is the fate. So not fate. This is a random event. So 1 is self. 2 is engine. Oh, that's good. And 10 is egregore. Love it. And then, of course, over here, I'm 8. 1, 2, and 8 is inhabit. Ooh. And then I rolled a 1. Okay, well, I won't stay there very long. There's some irony in rolling a 1, but then saying I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it a 1. All right, so I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to start shaking. And I'm going to do this for as long as I do it until I can feel a state transition in my body. Now, I'm going to be using, let's see if I can remember the terminology. I'm going to be bouncing. In fact, let me start. I'm just going to go ahead and go. There we go. Now, let's first of all get into my body, so into myself. For that, I'm going to have my feet about hip width apart, knees slightly bent, and this is a gentle bouncing. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to feel, honestly, I'm trying to feel waves. I'm trying to feel like, does the shaking of my body or my arm specifically go across the elbow or not? And you'll notice the difference. When your arms start shaking top to bottom in a continuous wave, you've actually gone through and done, is it trixotropic grooming? Now, that's a made-up word, but it's really a state of the body. So your cartilage is interesting in it's a non-Euclidean fluid. And when you stress it, when you put pressure on it, when you sit down for a long time, it semi hardens. And what I'm doing through basically biomechanics here, I'm going to warm up that fluid, and then I'm going to get it into a reset. And reset is going to return back to its liquid state. So I'm just getting it back to its normal state. In doing that, I'm going to also, as a result, cause the dielectric nature of it to line up electronically. So I'm adding a little bit of energy right now, a little bit of bouncing and shaking and noise, and that's actually going to reduce my ATP consumption. And also, I'll very likely have 1 or 2 huge vagal leaps. And I'll know when I'm starting to really get into it, when I start to have sort of right here, the inside of my arm, top my chest, and here, it'll actually feel I become radiating heat, and I'll feel sweat. And if you wanted a mechanical measurement, you could actually measure skin conductance, and you'll probably notice quite a change as that starts to happen. Now, I'm mixing Eastern stuff and Western stuff. It's all the same. They're all, you got to remember. Okay, so the basis of my belief system is emptiness. And emptiness means no independent arising. And it just means things are connected. Just as an example, in any system where you're taking a measurement, the measurements that you have in that system are dependent upon each other. You might say they're independent, but that actually is a fallacy. So space-time, X, Y, Z, time. Special relativity shows that the speed that you're going has an effect on time and also the XYZ. So no system has independent variables. When you say they're independent, really what you're saying is, I don't know how they're related, but maybe they also don't matter. It could be that they're independent for the purposes of like what you're doing with your body. Just saying. All right, so let's see. That's self. I think we've talked about self. Now, engine. Actually, talking about ATP. That's the engine. So ATP is the energy used by your body. Now, if you have a really tight, like let's say a really tight hip or something like that, that tightness is somewhat structural in terms of the alignment of the fascial structure and the muscle fibers, but it's also a nervous system because your body has to maintain that because you need to have some kind of an approximation to walk. So your body looks at all the tightness and it has to actually spend energy to counterbalance that so you have some hope of having a reasonable gait. If you can loosen your body and work on your body's alignment, both internally through shaking and aligning the dielectric materials and also the fibers and such, and maybe pushing your fontanelle up, if you do that over time, your body's going to get better alignment. And the better your body's alignment, the more streamlined it's going to be. The more streamlined it's going to be, the less ATP. The less ATP, the lower your noise. The lower your noise, the better your body can clean up itself. The better your body can clean up itself, the lower the noise. Do you see that virtuous cycle I just described there? And it all starts with shaking. So if all you do is shaking, you're doing great. Do some breathing, you're doing double great. Mix those two together, align, you're doing triple great. Then maybe some isometric. So hey, why not just demonstrate that? So I'm going to do a little bit of isometric work just for the heck of it. So I'm going to get my other timer here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to push on the side of my head, right side, left side, front and back, and then top. And I'm going to relax the opposite side. So I'm going to try to coordinate my left and right, my right and left, my front and back, my back and front, and then my top and my bottom, actually. So this is going to be also, now, if you're doing gentle release, just do that. I'm actually going to go to, it's not going to be failure, but I'm going to go to hard isometrics because I'm trying to get activation of the type 2 muscle fibers. That's a really nerdy thing. Just do a little bit of neck isometrics. You'll feel better. You'll strengthen your neck. When you're strengthening your core, it's really good for spine alignment, reducing ATP. So that's, again, back to engine. Now, let's see. I'm going to inhabit this by talking through it. So before I get into the first one, for the way I was standing before, I'm going to call that Wu Qi. Wu Qi and Tai Chi is before the separation of yin and yang. It's a singularity. It's the 0, or the 1. It could be singularity or collapse. At the beginning of the form, you expand, you inhabit the form. When you withdraw back into Wu Qi at the end, you've collapsed back into singularity. But you probably are in a new state than before, so you go from a 0 state to a 1 state. And the 1 state is just the new reality that starts the beginning of the cycle. And you roll forward in time. So, knees bent. I'm going to take my sacrum. I'm going to actively push it to my heels. Now, if you can relax, that's great. But since I'm going to be doing isometrics, I'm going to be a little more aggressive. Right hand on the right side, I'm going to push into my head as I push my head back. And I'm going to actively try to release my left side as I'm pushing into my right. In doing that, I'm going to notice it go deeper into my body. So I'm going to get better core engagement. And if you actually add pushing your shoulders down while you're pushing your sacrum down, you can really build up some heat. So here we go. This is also a good way to test how loose you are, because the easier it is to fully engage all the way to your core, the better the shaking has reset your cartilage and such, and basically loosened everything up so that you can flow more like a liquid. And I'm going to relax. Okay, great. And let's talk about the egregore. So egregore is just an idea that there's society, and society has all these rules and such, and it's sort of like a manifestation of that. And the extent to which you're strongly connected to, like, for example, the news feed, you're going to have a higher nervous system. If you were to analyze most news and like most social media, what you're going to find is a whole bunch of dichotomies. Right? Someone's going to make some kind of outlandish claim, and it's going to have, X is Y. Let go, and here we go. And the thing is, if you don't have a triad, it's a dichotomy. Dichotomies are inherently unstable. They either collapse into irrelevance or they get locked in with a triad. What happens is You're a bit nervous, you're a bit frazzled. You hear a dichotomy and you put yourself into it. And that's how they get you. That is manipulation, that's marketing, that's what's going on. So, shaking on a regular basis makes that happen a lot less. It's stochastic noise and it resets you. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm coordinating my top and bottom body, but I'm also really trying to make sure that I'm feeling stuff on the outside of my spine. So I'm really paying attention. If you feel a hot spot, you feel a stabby, if you can point to it, back off slowly, withdraw slowly. Once you can sort of disconnect yourself from society. Now, when I say disconnect, that's a way overstatement. You're probably going to buy food, toilet paper. You live in a city, you're buying water, etc. So it's not a disassociation, it's a weakening of bonds. You really, there's, if you will, a heartbeat of news, and then there's your heartbeat, and you just want them to be completely unconnected. So you can sample the news all you want, just don't let it get to you. Okay. Did I just do this one? That doesn't matter, I like the back anyway. How you doing, Shush? And let go. All right. Now the last one is pushing up. And this one especially, be careful of your cervic area, your cervical spine. I've got my hands right above my fontanelle, which is about above the top of the ears. And I'm pushing my fontanelle up, shoulders down, sacrum to my heels. I'm opening up my hip flexors. I'm actually going to now externally rotate my thighs. I'm really doing a whole lot here. It doesn't look like I'm doing much, but I can feel a whole lot of heat coming off my entire front. My cheeks are getting warm. Okay, now, since I just compressed my spine, I'm just going to fold forward, just lean forward a little bit and let the spine sort of relax. And while I do it, I'll pet the kitty if he's, come here, shush. Hey, buddy. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and finish this little, if you will, paradox sandwich. My paradox sandwich started with the shaking. I rolled some dice. I'm doing something, and then I'm going to finish with shaking. Now, shaking, if after I've done something, it's going to be a slightly lighter, gentler shaking. But what this is going to do is, if you've really stressed yourself out, but you've come out slowly, you probably don't have any sort of quote trauma, but this is going to help relax that. Just a little bit of shake, it's going to help integrate. And the way it helps integrating is it basically erases the memory. So you have the experience, but none of the memory. And then you have, because of that, you have more to inhabit the next time. So once again, let me go through the practices. And again, this I want to emphasize. These are my practices, and I'm going to change them, and I'm going to forget them. Really, just move, just shake. But if you want something, here's a linear progression. Start by shaking, practice breathing, do them together. Work on some isometrics, maybe neck isometrics, maybe planks, maybe chin-ups, maybe actual resistance training, maybe HIIT, whatever, doesn't matter. Work on expand. Science of stretching is my game. There's other things you could do. And then you want to coordinate all those things together. So maybe you mix neck isometrics with shaking, with science of stretching, while controlling your breathing, and so on. After that, I've got things like other internal martial arts. So that's where I'm engaging Tai Chi, just general Qigong, Leho Bafa, Bagua. But again, it doesn't matter. I love Tai Chi, love them all. They're empty, right? The thing I want to know about the form is the intention, not because I care about the specific intention, but by having an intention, I have a direction, and that direction allows me to have better focus, better proprioceptive, better interoceptive. So it's the more I can focus on it, the more I'm going to get out of it. Just like I was in the garden earlier weeding, and I was in a deep squat, and I was completely resting in my ligaments. I wasn't using my muscles at all. They were completely just there. Actually, essentially, my muscles were forming the structure like often my cartilage would because of the state my body was in. And I was just in a deep flex. It was great. In fact, let's see. I wonder if I can still do it because I basically had everything loose. I was just down here for about good, yeah, right here. I was just down here pulling weeds for hours, and then I was able to get up and then down. So over time, if you loosen your body, you can learn how to really do some amazing things. Now I've got some heat on the front of my body and so on. I'm not done shaking, but I'm gonna go through another round of the chaos, the paradox. Let's see, what is it? Paradox game. So paradox engine. Here we go. Okay, so I got a 3 there, I got a 3 there, and I got a 5. 3. Align. Okay, I just did some alignment, so that's fine. And 5. Ho ho! 5 is MU. Align and no context. Align to no context. Okay, I'm gonna do a stretch. What the hell? I don't know what that means, so I'm gonna do a stretch. I'm gonna go ahead and stretch my upper body, and I'm just gonna do this really quick. And what I'm doing is I'm gonna take a sample to see how I am. Am I warmed up or am I plastic? Have I managed to completely get my entire, say, cartilage system shooken out, loosened up, so that when I go into a stretch, I just whoosh, go to the max, basically? Or am I sort of a little into the stretch? About to find out. So I'm gonna go against the wall. Hello, Chesh. And actually, this plastic thing I'm talking about, it's an actual state. And you see those 2 pieces of tape on the wall. I use that to take videos of myself doing this particular pose and see where I started. And let's see, where am I starting? So I would say I'm starting warmed up, but not liquid. Okay, and that's 1. Now, I rolled a 3, so I'm going to take 3 samples. So I'm going to check my hips. All right. Now, by the way, I'm just doing this. I'm just making this up as I go along. Doesn't matter. I'm moving. I'm making my body through ranges of motion. If I want to do deep flexibility, I'll do deep flexibility. But I'm just using this to sort of randomize and get different experiences. So here we go. This is a great stretch right here. Best hip stretch. And it's lovingly referred to as blaster. So my hips are slightly looser than my upper body, and neither one of them, at least not, I'm going to check this side, of course. No, and I can tell that I'm a little sore on my abductors. Excuse me, let me think. Yeah, abductors, that's right, AB abductors. Okay, that was sample number 2. Let's see. I've done here, I've done there. Well, yeah, why not? Let's see how I'm doing on my front in general. So I'll go ahead and I'll start in a version of hero pose. Feeling pretty good there, so I'll separate my feet and bum on the ground. Now at this point, my knees are getting a good stretch. So actually, let's talk about this. I'm going to hold this for long enough that I'm actually going to really put stress on the cartilage and so on. It's fine. When I say stress, de-stress or euphoric stress, good stress. If I can point to it, it's stabby, I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to come out slowly. And the reason I want to come out slowly, regardless of whether I'm coming out because it's time or because of pain, is if you're really compressed, you've really been inhabiting that for a long time, when you come out, your body's going to go, and what that actually means is you're going to probably have a huge hit of RMSDD. And that's just your measurement of your vagal pump. Your vagal pump go, and what it's doing is it's actually releasing a whole bunch of really good stuff for you. Well, that's what normally would happen is when you're under a lot of stress, your body expects you to come out quickly. Now, by the way, I think this is the case. This is my mental model, and I got, everything's empty, so I could always fall back on, emptiness it's all a model. But this is, I think, this is what I'm observing in my own HRV data. So your real results may vary. But if I put myself under a great deal of distress and then I come out just a little bit, I get that vagus nerve pump, and then I just wait for a bit, and then I come out slowly. And so I never reestablished my nervous system at a higher level. So basically, I put myself into a tight bind. I hold, 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 hold. And then instead of releasing quickly, I release slowly. And it's kind of a different kind of proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation that's a great way to manipulate your nervous system. And what I'm saying is, this is a way for you to work with your nervous system. And when you turn down your nervous system, you're going to find that you disconnect from the egregore of society just enough so that you can actually look at it. And ironically, you can get a really good cramp in my left foot there. I'm going to do a trigger point to heal that. I'm just going to put pressure on that to get it to release. By doing that, by actually giving yourself some separation, you know yourself better, and you can actually be integrated more with society. And what I mean by that is, rather than just being integrated because you watch the news, you get to choose where to integrate. So the act of separation allows you to become more integrated because you get to choose which part of the integration works best for you in this moment now. Okay, so that's a good sample. I'm still pretty not loose. I mean, I'm warmed up, but I'm not loose. So I'm going to go ahead and get back into shaking. That's kind of my default. So my plan for this paradox engine, I teach Tai Chi, or rather, I'm going to start teaching Tai Chi on Saturdays starting next month. So it used to be a sub, now I'm going to be teaching. And I'm going to use the standard class. So we'll do Qigong. Actually, I'm going to talk through this because I guess I'm processing it. So my format will be, since traditionally we start at 10 o'clock and it almost always starts at 10 after, about 10 o'clock, I'm just going to start shaking. People can join me or not. If I do 10 minutes of shaking, that generally is almost often enough, especially on a Saturday morning. By the time I start class, I've already probably been walking outside for a half hour with my dogs. And so that right there, plus 10 minutes of shaking, I'm probably in a relatively calm, plastic state. And then I'm going to spend the next 50 minutes working with the class. So maybe we're doing some Qigong. Let's say we're picking a typical Qigong set called Tammuz 18. So we start in Wu Chi, then we do pushing palms, separating heaven and earth, separating mountains. I forget the names of the next one. Dragon twists its waist, and so on. But maybe I roll the dice and we pick something, and either I talk about it or I ask the students in fact, here, let's just do it. Why talk about it here? Okay. So I'm going to go into pushing palms. Okay, that's a good one. That's either 5 or 9. 5, expand, withdraw. Oh, beautiful. So I've got expand and withdraw over here. Self. Expand and withdraw. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Okay, let's go ahead and do pushing palms. I'm going to expand and I'm going to withdraw into myself, which is exactly what pushing palms is. So I'm going to stand a little bit wider than feet hip. This doesn't matter. Just be stable, knees bent. I'm going to relax my sacrum down. I'm in my heels. Now, your mid-dantian is really your solar plexus. Your arch comes together. Here it is. All right. You hold a lot of tension here. By the way, I call this part of my body, I call that Bruce. All right. That's Bruce. Alice is back on my back. And that's a place that's where I fell off the train bridge. Bruce is just Bruce. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine that when I'm pulling out, I'm taking and visualizing, say, gray energy coming out of my body. Now, here's a little trick. It doesn't matter what you visualize. I mean, it does, in that whatever you're visualizing, you're actually working on your visual cortex. You're actually doing mental calisthenics. If you visualize something that is going to be shocking to you, not calming, that's going to have an effect. So, for example, if you have an association with, say, I don't know, let's say you like peanut butter sandwiches. Peanut butter sandwich. Now, maybe that's not a good example. But the thing is, it's about your association to the thing. the more you work on an association, the more it's going to be. So honestly, consistency in practice is what's important, and then trying to find something that is either neutral, benign, or even positive. So I'm going to use white light, just actually clear, bright light, like a really just bright white light. Okay, so I'm going to imagine I'm pushing out gray energy, I'm clearing out, expanding that gray energy, pulling it out, and then I'm going to capture some just energy that's out here, and I'm going to bring it back in white into my chest, and it's going to come into myself. And just imagine that white light, it hits your rib cage. Your rib cage turns bright white, and now it goes up and down. It goes down your feet, and you can imagine your skeletal muscles or your skeletal muscles. Why not? Your skeleton getting bright white, and then maybe the light continues into the ground as a web, mycelia, or maybe you're a tree, something like that. I mean, just what you're doing is you're trying to use visualization, and you're exercising your mind, your visual cortex specifically. And honestly, close your eyes. It makes it a lot easier. And it doesn't matter if you can feel it or not, if you can see it or not. Practice it because you're concentrating. And when I say I see stuff, I'm not actually seeing it. I'm imagining something I've imagined before. Sometimes I can notice stuff on my visual cortex. It's not impossible, but you have to be really calm. Sometimes you can notice the double buffer. Sometimes you can notice just subtle shaking, like almost like neurons firing. Rare, it's possible. So I'm expanding out, and then I'm bringing that back in. And I'm coordinating my breath. So inhale. I like to inhale and express, expand, capture, inhale, and then pull in, exhale. But again, what you're doing is you're coordinating your breath, maybe your vision or not, movement, and you're basically gonna work on upping your sympathetic or your parasympathetic, your parasympathetic health. Actually, this is putting me to sleep. Over my neck, I've got a collar, a shock collar. It's doing electromagnetic pulses, magnetic pulses, and I've got it to encourage. I want to say it's 17 hertz, but it is a frequency that's traditionally associated with theta meditation. And it's been there 20 minutes now, and it's kind of knocking me out a bit. That is completely not necessary. However, it is a biohack cheat. This is right here. This is it. Shaking is it. Now, it turns out if you do this long enough, you'll actually be doing some amount of cardiovascular work as well. At least I do sometimes. All right, let's see. What am I going to do next? I'm going to go ahead and withdraw the D4 for now because I'm just really trying to pick something here. All right, 9, withdraw, 3, liquid. Ooh, withdraw into liquid. Okay, let's see. Well, let me just see where I'm at. Again, hasn't been very much longer, but I'll go ahead and I'm going to do this pose that is, well, actually, I'm just going to get a sort of a stable base, and then I'm going to see how my sides feel. feel quite a bit softer in my shoulders than when I did the cliffhanger. So I'm going to check that now because I think that's pretty noticeably different. Oh, I'm going to have to move you, aren't I? No, I won't move you. Here, I'll move Mr. Mushroom. I'm further along, but still not there. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go back to shaking for a second. Now, I'm just messing around with this paradox tool here, but or chaos engine or paradox engine. That's what it is, right? And I'm probably doing it too much, but I did 4 or 5 hours of housework and about another hour or two of yard work. So honestly, all I need to do is shake. So I have my body through a wide range of motions, sort of just resetting it, getting it cleared, and then going to bed would be more than sufficient since I've done all the other stuff. And I'll just say, housework, you can do it with good pose. You can, for example, use a horse riding stance when you're working on your dishes, or do a deep squat while you're doing weeding. And you can take the most mundane of thing and wish you had more time to do it because it's just a very comfortable thing to sit in the garden in a deep squat, pulling weeds, because you know they're there. Your brain knows they're there. So pulling weeds is going to clear your neural net. And as crazy as you might think that sounds, I'm actually being literal. You remove the noise around you, your brain will notice it. You may not notice much, but I'm playing the long game. Any place where I can remove a little bit of noise adds up, because when you reduce your noise floor, you start to have the ability to maybe start getting your body to repair itself throughout the day in small batches, as opposed to waiting for you to sleep. So now all of a sudden notice you've somewhat decoupled your need for sleep from your need for body repair. And anytime you can orthogonalize different body processes, it just gives you more options. If you've had a busy day, you didn't have a time to stop, sleep's going to be great. But if you happen to have the opportunity to sort of do a little bit of shaking here and there throughout the day, or maybe some breathing, or maybe just some very light stretching, what you're going to find is your body is going to, over time, get calmer. And as you do that, you're going to very slowly find that you have a whole lot more space and time to make decisions about things. It's not going to solve any problems. Well, it could solve some problems. If one of your problems is you have a lot of pain, consistent practice like this over time will probably reduce your pain, but it's not going to pay your bills. There are societal constraints. The societal egregore is going to put institutionalized or structural karma into play in the form of money. At this point, I can feel my front is very loose, and as I bounce my arms, the bottom and the top of the arm sort of bouncing together. It's a lot more rubbery at this point. Noticing a little bit of sweat on my forehead, definitely some heat on my front, like I talked about earlier. Now, if you have a particular style of shaking, like if you like to shake the tree or whatever, do it. I'm absolutely not suggesting that you don't do what you love doing. But what I am suggesting is shaking is like a universal solvent for your body. And by itself, it will actually help you make some progress. But this mixed in with other practices is going to be an amazing multiplier. It is for me. I assume it would be for you, because there's no difference between noise and pure coherence. That is another way to say that. If you don't fail, you don't learn. If you're perfect every time, you don't learn anything. Perfection and noise have the same information value. Oh, and by the way, the awareness is singularity. Singularity is the awareness. That is, awareness and singularity are synonyms. So no matter how discrete or fine or whatever you want to call it is, since awareness is the singularity, everything has awareness in it to the extent that it's, a thing. Awareness isn't really much of a thing, actually. In the human mind, awareness is increasing the ability of the body and mind to conduct electrical thought, because certain big thoughts take more energy to hold into the body. So it's really about getting the internal plumbing and wiring so that you can ground out a huge amount of electricity, i.e. a lot more of your neural network simultaneous, which produces biomechanical energy. And if you can then offload some of that heat into the body, it allows you to collapse, compress, and take on bigger things. So mental calisthenics. And this chaos engine is one approach to getting to it. You take the 9 verbs and you work on them in order, top to bottom to top, whatever. That's one way. You add in some randomization. That's another way. You go full random. That's another way. Honestly, I'm to the point where shaking is so useful that I kind of don't want to do anything else. So if anything, what I should do is, for me, I should take shake out as an option. So if I roll a 1, I don't get to do it until I've done other stuff. But I'm doing other stuff, so it's okay. Okay. I think that's probably enough. But I will check. Yeah, why not? Here. Ooh, oh man, my arches. I got to keep my back foot curled up because the tendon is tweaking. Yeah, I'm pretty loose. I mean, I'm not loose, but oh, this is nice. Okay, that's good enough. I'm not really looking to stretch or anything like that. But notice, I just was able to pop right into that. So I can tell you that for me, that's not normal. That is a state change in my body where I've loosened everything up. There's very little adhesion. So what I'm trying to actually experience is inhibiting, wrong word, inhabiting the space that I've already made through previous stretches. Okay, same thing other side. Yeah, see how this is going. And yeah, this is also nice and loose. I mean, I know it's not as far down as the other side. This is my tighter side. So actually I'm going to stay here a little bit longer than the other side just because I also take advantage of a skew, a little bit of asymmetry. See, it's already, I can tell it's already relaxing and releasing. Okay, right there, that's a pretty good extension. Or expansion, maybe a better way to say that. So now I'm going to inhabit this space for a while. It's hard to tell, but I've actually got my elbow right into my upper thigh to sort of balance me, and my backhand, I've got it locked out. So I'm doing a lot of coordinated effort here to try to make it so that there's a very much stillness in the stretch. So I'm engaging the entire body, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to withdraw just a little bit and then slowly come out, because I've just put my nervous system under a little bit of stress. And so my reward is that it's going to give me a bit of a vagal pump. And if I don't waste it on shocking my body, I get a whole lot of goodness because I spend a little bit of time and a little bit of discomfort. So that's the Paradox Engine. It's my new tool. Look for it in the App Store at some point, maybe. Who knows? I'll vibe code it. Paradox Diaries 8.1 out.